I'm not here to rant. Just not. What am I here to talk about? I don't know. Our kids, their future, my future, your future. My channel is dedicated to people over the age of 50 that are trying to cope with this new world because, believe me, this is not a Gen X world. It's just not. It's kind of hilarious how far away from our upbringing that this really is. Um, I'm looking at all this political crap and I'm going, what? And I'm looking at these kids, though. If you're male and you have children that are Gen X or Gen Z, please talk to your kids more. I'm seeing so much where kids are 100% being like influenced by their schools instead of by their parents. And that's just craziness. Okay, so Gen X, I'm a Gen Xer. So, yes, we did drink out the hose. Of course we did. My mother said, it's in or out. It's in or out. Stop going in or out. And when my mother, we told her that we were hungry, she gave us a spoon and she told us where the peanut butter was. Okay, so there wasn't any of this bull crap. I'm going to say this about my parents. Every night I had a 3-course meal. My mother made sure every day that we were fed wonderfully. And I'm so grateful for that. Because without proper nutrition, you're kind of screwed. But as a person that has grown up in the 1%, but lived her entire life living like on the streets of Oakland, California, I ran away from home when I was 16. Those reasons will be at a different date that I will talk about that. But I ended up living on the streets of Oakland, California in the early 1980s by myself. And so I do feel like I have a right to say certain things. I'm going to say this one thing to all the residents of California. There is a large black population in California. Let's get that straight. How are you going to feel when your friend gets reparations, but you don't? Do you see the problem with this whole thing? Like, it's going to cause civil war. Like, I don't know why nobody doesn't understand that. Can you imagine all your friends getting all this money because of certain stipulations that go along with reparations, but you don't? I don't know how that would work. Do you? And do I like either one of our candidates? Not really. But you know what I do know? I know that Donald Trump literally went into the hurricane area and he brought supplies and he was there for the people there. That to me, he won this election as far as I'm concerned, because where were the other 2 people? And it shouldn't be 2 people, it should be 1. Because we have a president, his name is Joe Biden. Although he's been asleep this entire time, it does not excuse him from his responsibilities. And I'm asking him right now, Joe Biden, would you please step down now? I kind of hope that he does, because then we'll get to see what kind of president that Miss Harris will become. And I would love to see her straight up saying, yes, I'm in charge right now, and see what she does. Because she's already been in charge. Let's not get that messed up. Why does everybody hate Donald Trump? I don't think people do hate Donald Trump. Donald Trump's been part of my life my whole life. I don't know about any other Gen Xers out there, but hasn't Donald Trump been there the whole time? Kind of thinking he has. Do I think that he's going to stop women from getting abortions? Of course I do not. He's already been president and he didn't do that. Why would he do that again? He's stated a million times he is not going to take away women's rights to their reproductive flipping rights. Okay, so he is against the later term abortions, is what my understanding is. And good. There are people out there that would love to have a baby To think inside my heart that people are actually giving birth and then having those babies killed, that makes me sick to my stomach, and I don't even want to be an American if that's real. I don't know that that's 100% real, but I know that's what I've heard. And I know that that's what's said. And I did look it up online, and there are a couple states that actually allow this. If you're a victim of rape, you know that long before you're 9 months pregnant. Do I believe that abortion should be illegal? No, I don't. But I do believe there should be some stipulations against murder. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the fact that Donald Trump, who's no longer our president, 100% went into the hurricane zones and he brought relief and he brought comfort and he talked to people when our current administration did not. He's acting more like a president. He just met with Zelensky. Are you kidding me? What the Joe Biden, you should be so ashamed. And Kamala Harris, you too. These are things that you should be doing. I'm just pointing that out. I'm being real right now. In 2016, when I heard the two candidates that were about to run, I literally was tripping. I was like, no way, these two people? Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, are you kidding? What I saw under the Trump presidency was a lot of controversy. Yes, he's got a big mouth. He should probably shut it up. But maybe he shouldn't shut it up. Maybe he says things that need to be said. Maybe, just maybe, he's one of those people who doesn't give a shit about what other people think. I believe having a narcissist as president is a good thing. To tell you the truth, I have two narcissistic parents. And I know how hard they worked for themselves. I know that's kind of ridiculous, but it's kind of true. I didn't get on here to talk about that, though. I think I got on here more to talk about our kids, though. Like, our next generation of kids have no loyalty to us. Let's get real about that. So as you get older, and you might need your children, I don't think that they're having a moral obligation to you. I'm being real. I myself am terminally ill. I just found out again that I am very sick. But I try never to let that be part of my day. But I can tell you this. When I reached out to my children, only one of them was even wanting to be able to help me at that time. And that kind of hurt my feelings. Because I was born in 1965, and so in the 1980s, when I got married, 100%, we spent the weekends at my parents' with our kids and everything else. I don't know about you, but don't you remember that? Like, I loved going to my parents' house. We played penny poker on the weekends, me and my husband and my mother and her husband. And actually, we had children together. My little sister is a year older than my oldest daughter. So, like, we had I had 3 children in the same amount of time. My mom had 1, but they were all girls, and they've all grown up together. Unfortunately, my daughter Morgan passed away in 2023 in an encampment in Seattle, Washington. Another thing that I would talk about on a different time, because that's not what I'm talking about. But what I'm talking about is this. Like, this new generation of parents, I don't believe that I taught my children to ignore their children. I really did not do that. I know that I didn't. But yet, my millennials are having problems with their kids that are different than the problems that I had with mine. We need to make responsible citizens. Are you kidding? One of the reasons they're bringing all these immigrants in is because our kids don't want to work. How the hell did that happen? See, I come from a family where we worked our entire lives. My parents worked. My grandparents worked. I'm very fortunate. I grew up in a house with my mother and my father, and I do believe that having 2 parents in the home is just, it's a different experience for everyone involved. I believe that my daughter Morgan, part of the reason she died was because her father was absent. And I do believe that. We got to be there for our kids. We've got to tell them what's right and what's wrong, and we don't need to worry about whether or not we hurt their feelings or whether or not we're their friends, because we're not supposed to be their friends. I took a college class in boundaries for children. And because I was that mom that if my kids were doing stuff and they weren't bothering anybody, then leave my kids alone, right? Well, that wasn't the best idea, because bottom line is this: the world isn't that kind. So I kind of set those kids up to fail. They got out in this world and they were like, well, I can do what I want, as long as I'm not hurting anybody else. And that's just not reality. So I did them a misjustice. I didn't do that with my last two, because I have 4 children. Actually, I have 3 now, because like I said, my youngest daughter, Morgan, died. She was mentally ill in an encampment in Seattle, Washington. And I am going to do a video about that, because it's a very, very, very crazy experience that I had with the city of Seattle trying to help my daughter. It was awful. That's all I can say. When I got that phone call, don't think that I didn't think it was coming, because I knew that it was. But I'd done everything I could to make sure it didn't happen. I thought by now that the pain would have diminished a little bit. No, it just gets more. Because the more time that goes by, the more times I can think about, oh my God, I failed her here, I failed her there. I have to remind myself I can't do that. My advice to anyone who's my age that's dealing with children that are using drugs or that are mentally ill is this: I don't care. Answer the phone every time they call. Answer your phone. Talk to them. I'm not saying enable them. I'm not saying give them anything but what they need. What I did for my daughter was this, okay? Because I knew that if I gave her money, or if I gave her like a new phone or anything like that, that 100% it would be gone in 5 minutes, right? And I wanted her to have stuff from me that was from me. So she ended up in the mental hospital a lot, my daughter Morgan, who is absolutely beautiful. But when she would call me, sometimes I'd be on my way to work, but it didn't matter. I would get off the bus, I would sit somewhere, and I would literally talk to her no matter what. And I made sure that she felt special and loved always, because I knew that she wasn't long for this world. So that's my advice to anyone who is dealing with a child that is mentally ill or that's on drugs. Do not enable your child. Don't give them money to kill themselves, because for real, what if you give your kid $20, right? You give them $20 and then they die the next day, right? Whose fault is that? For me, it felt like it would be mine. So I have this with all my kids. They get $20. That's it. That's the most amount of money I can give them. Not because I can't give them more, but because I don't want to be responsible for them not being on this planet anymore. But if your kid is still out there, I tried everything. In the state of Washington, even though my daughter gave me 100% power of attorney over her life, because she did, because she knew that she was sick, it didn't matter. The state of Washington wanted me to hire a guardian ad litem, which would have cost me about $10,000 a month. I make minimum wage as a janitor, okay? And I'm alone. So where am I going to come up with this money? But just so everybody knows, if you have a kid in this situation, good luck with your government trying to help you with this, because 100% the city of Seattle went against me every minute. And so did our state government. So she would get into the hospital. They would let her out too early. They'd call me and say, can she come to your house? And I'd say, of course she can, but I wish that she wouldn't. And what I meant by that was, please keep her there longer. My daughter's name was Morgan Crawford. She was 24 years old the day that she died. I haven't visited the spot that she died in yet. I plan on doing that soon, though, so that I can be close to where my daughter was. But there are way too many kids using these nasty drugs right now that for me not to speak out about this. So if you're a parent and you're dealing with a child that has problems like my daughter had, don't give up. Call your local church. Make it your priority. I sent her pizza for Christmas to her entire ward of the hospital that she was in, because I wanted her to feel special. It's not a lot, right? It probably cost me, I think it was like $75, but it meant everything to my daughter. The last thing that my little girl said to me was this. Her little cousin had gone to Seattle to find her, and he found her. And when he called me on video chat, she was screaming, "Get him out of here! Why is he here? Mom, why is he here?" And then all of a sudden, her eyes met mine. On the phone, our eyes met, and she looked at me, and she was crazy, like she's out on some compound, like there's people behind her using drugs. It was just a scene from hell, right? And she says, Mommy, oh my God, Mommy, I love you, Mommy. That was the last thing that she said to me. Please, be there for them. I know 100% if I wouldn't have done everything that I did up to that moment to make sure that she knew how much I loved her. Because we all need that. We all need to know that somebody loves us no matter what. Don't we? Don't we? My mother said there's no such thing as unconditional love. I don't believe that that's true. Why wouldn't I love her? Because she was sick? So, I'm so grateful that I knew what to do. God showed me what to do with my little girl. He did. 100% he did. He led me through that because he knew that she wasn't going to be there forever. He knew that he needed to bring her to heaven, and he did. My daughter had some mental disorders that caused her to be rejected by people around her. So what I mean by that is, like, she would get into your personal space, even as a very young child, which caused kids to beat her up. And she had bright red hair. I have red hair too, and I did go through the redhead bullshit. I got called butt ugly for 2 years in elementary school, and it was awful. I mean, how would you like to be called that? You know what I mean? But my daughter went through every bit, even as beautiful as she was. And if you look on my channel, you'll see there are videos of my daughter there. She was strikingly gorgeous, but unfortunately, when you've got bright red hair, kids aren't very nice to you. So she went through a lot of abuse in her lifetime, and unfortunately at the end of her life she got hooked on that horrifying drug that lots of our children are dying from. I'm not going to say it here on Facebook or on YouTube because I know for a fact that they'll take my video down, and I don't want that to happen. So yes, the F word was what took my daughter down. But I had to think about it like this. She was living in an encampment in Seattle, Washington, and people were already mean to her. I don't even want to think of what she would have gone through when she was sick, or when she needed drugs, the things she would have had to do. I believe that God, my creator, brought her home to heaven to give her testimony to the angels, to show them what's going on down here, because she did have the most purest of a heart. So if you're a parent and you're dealing with this, please reach out to me. I would be more than happy to talk to you as long as you need. I'm going to share one more thing with the people that are on here because, and this is something that I don't share with anybody because it's very personal, but I need to let it out and I need to talk about it. So I've been very ill and I've been pushing everyone in my life away for a while now because of my sickness. I didn't know that it was because I was sick, but it's hormonal. It's just all kinds of crap. It's cancer, whatever. But when my daughter died, my 24-year-old daughter that died on her birthday, she died on her 24th birthday. When I got that phone call, I lost my mind. But nobody came. None of my other children came to comfort me. My mother wouldn't answer the phone. My boyfriend of 35 years didn't answer the phone. My best friends didn't want to come to my house. And so it was quiet. I bought a very heavy blanket, a healing blanket, and I turned on my YouTube and I listened. Did you know what happened? My daughter came to me and she sat right next to me and she told me everything she felt her entire life through music. Could I see her with my eyes that are here? No. Could I hear her with these ears? No. Could I hear her in my heart? Could I feel her in my heart? Could I see her in my heart? Yes. My daughter, 100%, sat right next to me and she was beautiful. It was like she'd never been sick. It was like she should have looked at her beautiful age. And she sat with me and she took me through this music. So, like, I'm just going to give you an example. I learned the truth at 17. Life was meant for beauty queens, for high school girls with clear queen smiles, then marry young and then retire. How the hell would my little girl, born in 1999, know that song from the early 1970s that I'd only heard once in my life? When that song came on, because I knew everything she'd gone through, I knew for a fact my little girl was sitting right next to me. So this is my advice to anyone who loses someone really close to them. Get those people away from you. They're not going to help. No, they're not. You need to be alone so you can hear your loved one talk to you. She talked to me until the day she was cremated. She sat right next to me. And sometimes I'd have to take a break. I'd have to put that blanket over my head and just feel the weight of it and just make myself go to sleep. Because I'm going to tell you what, right now, if you have any kids, you don't ever want to hear that. You don't want to hear that your child's dead. You don't. You're not supposed to outlive your kids. It was horrifying. This poor woman that had to call me, she was so mortified, but she got called about my daughter because they thought that she somehow was connected to my child. And she found me and she called me. But she told me to tell my son, you are the wind beneath my wings. Fly away. But the biggest and most important song was to let her go. I don't know if you've ever heard that song, Let Her Go. I still can't listen to it anymore. I can't, because that song isn't about me letting her go. It's about when I lost custody of her and she had to let me go. It took me months to realize that that's what she was saying to me that day. But that is. She wasn't talking about me letting her go. She was talking about what she went through when she had to let me go. Death of a child is horrifying. I wish that I could, like, answer any of you that are messaging me right now. I can't. My eyes aren't good enough. I can see you all, and I will be looking at all your comments after this is over, and I will try and reach out to every single one of you, I promise. This wasn't supposed to be like this. I wasn't expecting to, like, let it all out. But I'm going to tell you that that's real. So Indians believe that, not the Native Americans, but the Indians believe, the Hindus believe, that our souls stay here till we're cremated. They're not kidding. I would have never believed it unless I would have been there and gone through it myself. So, I'm hoping that none of you are dealing with anything that I'm dealing with or that I had to. But I hope that if you do, that you do what I did. So I've become an activist against homelessness. I want to get the people off the streets. My daughter died in an encampment in Seattle, Washington. And every time I think about that, I just want to cry and scream and yell because what was my little beautiful angel doing in such a horrific place? If you have a family member that's out there on the streets, God said to me in my heart, go and get them. I don't care if they're annoying. It's going to be real annoying when you can't get into heaven, huh? Yeah, no. People who, if it's your family member, if it's your family, you're responsible for your own flipping family. Why expect the government to bring your family off the street? That's up to you. If you have even a little bit of space in your house, and I'm talking about a couch in a back room, I don't care. Or even a space on the floor, I don't care. Go and get your friend or your family member off those dirty ass streets. And if you don't know what they're going through, maybe you should look into it. I know that we all ignore those encampments when we drive by, right? We don't want to look. Oh, no, can't see that. We are all morally responsible for that. I've housed hundreds of people in my life. Sometimes it worked out good, and lots of times it worked out really bad. But do I regret any of it? No. Nope. Do I miss my little girl every day? Yeah, I do. Am I there for her sisters and brothers every minute of every day? Yes, I am. It broke my family up. This whole situation did for a long time. And it's been 1.5 years now, and I just started to connect with 2 of my children again. It was very hard at the beginning. We were all mad, we were all very hurt, and we were all very upset. And it caused a rift in our family that took a very long time to heal. I don't want to keep on talking because it seems like I'm not keeping that much of an interest in anyone. But if you are a parent that's dealing with a child with mental illness, or that's homeless, or on drugs, please, if you want somebody to talk to, please reach out to me. I would love to talk to you. I would love to help you in any way I can. I will even reach out to your child for you if they're estranged and they're outside. If they're anywhere in my area, I will go there. I advise you to do the same. 100%. I can't even tell you how many times I was trudging through the streets of Seattle, in very dangerous areas, just to try and connect to her. As a mother who lost their child, I don't wish that on anyone. I would love to see one of these political candidates talk about homelessness for 1 minute. I don't know about any of you, but I feel like homelessness of American citizens seems to be the biggest problem right now over everything else. So I'm okay with paying $8 for a loaf of mother bread, right? if you're actually doing something for these homeless people, but they're not, more than that, they don't have any incentive to. So think about it like this. A person working at a housing or at a Goodwill or at a Salvation Army, what incentive do they have to get people off the street? None. Because without homeless people, they don't have jobs. So when our government talks about creating jobs and I see all these people outside, it makes me sick to my stomach because I'm realizing that they're creating jobs by pushing people outside. That's just one way that they're doing it, but it's unacceptable. God's not happy. He's really not. I'm not a prophet. I'm not a chosen one, but I can tell you this. God did talk to me one day, and he said this, and this is going to be the last thing I have to say. So if you're on here and you want to hear something straight from God's mouth to my ears on a morning that I was walking and feeling disgusted, I'm going to tell you right now. So I looked up, I was walking, to this flipping weed store. I'm going to be real about it. Trying to, forget about the argument I just got into with my daughter. And all of a sudden, the sky opened up. And the sun, started to hit my face. And I looked up and I felt this warmth all over my body. And this is what God said to me. Now, mind you, this is not even 9 months after my daughter died, okay? God said this to me. He said, get those people off the streets. He said, something's going to happen in our atmosphere. He didn't tell me what. He said, but it's going to cause a lot of problems for people who live inside. They're going to end up outside. He said, salvation will come to those who live outside, whether or not they choose to help the people who live outside or inside. So bottom line is this. When you're driving by those encampments, those people in those encampments are the ones that are going to save your life. How are they going to save your life? Because they've been living out there a really long time. They know how to survive without electricity, without water, without food or clean clothes. They know how to live like that, and you're going to need them if you want to survive. Because without anything, what are you going to do? You don't have a cell phone. You don't have any way to buy food. You don't even have a place to sleep anymore because it's too scary in your house because there's people outside trying to get in because everybody's in a situation, right? So what God said to me was this, those people who live in those encampments, they're going to have a choice whether or not to help us. And their salvation depends on it, unfortunately. I don't know how you're going to give them more problems, but yes. So when we're driving by those encampments to buy our lattes or whatever, no, none of us can buy ourselves into homelessness. I had great hopes for that. I'm having a bitch of a time. I'm trying to earn money to end homelessness. I want to end homelessness in real time, but I'm barely making it every minute. I'm very sick. I've got 4th-stage cancer, but that's neither here nor there. It doesn't stop me from trying every day. I'm over 50. I have a kind of entertaining YouTube channel. I'm trying really hard. But like I said, if you are going through any of the things that I've talked about, if you're homeless, if you're hungry, please reach out to me. I will do whatever I can to help you. I promise you that. I can't tell you that I have a lot because I don't. But I'll call your parents for you. If you're a kid that's living out there, I'll talk to your mom for you. If you just need a friend to talk to, I'll talk to you. Just let me know. Just leave comments. If you leave comments, I will see them and I will respond to every single comment that I get, whether or not they're positive or negative. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you send me a negative message, I will give you a negative message right back. I'm not even playing about that. So I'm hoping that you will be respectful to the fact that I am just a woman of 58 years old that's dying of cancer trying to make something different in this world to make it better. 100%. Please keep your hating comments to yourself. Otherwise, I have no problem telling you how I feel about your comment. So, just with that in mind, I'm going to go now. So, that is what God said to me. So, if you're inside, you're driving by those encampments, know that one of those people out there that poop their pants, pee their pants, and yell at you crazy are the people that are going to save your life. We just had an EMP attack. Does anybody know that? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you're a Verizon company, or if you're on Verizon, you probably can't even hear me right now, right? Our government will never tell you that it's an EMP attack, but it was. And I believe there's another carrier that's been affected too. I think it's AT&T. So, if you don't get it by now, then you're never going to. Stop living with your head in the sand. 100%, if you're on this, then you're not being affected by this. But know that other Americans are being affected by this right now. They're not able to use their cell phones. Why? Because some other country decided to do something about that. And here we are. So, it even proves more to me what God said to me that day was this. We're going to be displaced. The people that are inside are going to end up outside. And the salvation of those people who already live outside is going to be whether or not they want to help you. With that, I'm going to say goodnight. And thank you for listening to me rampage on about life, love, and my little girl who died. Thank you so much for all of you. I literally am half blind. I really am very sick. But after this, I will be able to read all these comments and I will respond to every single one of you, I promise. Thank you again. Have a good night.